Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 21. What do you think of that intro?
I told Damon, congratulations, you're a pip. And he said, a what? I said, a pip. And he said,
pip?
What's that? Do you know what a pip is?
A pip? What's a pip?
I've already forgotten.
It's Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Oh.
They just say Vu Gwyn's name in the intro, no one else's. So I say, congratulations.
I've heard the name. I've heard the name Gladys Knight.
No one remembers. Yeah, but you know who the Pips are.
No clue.
No, exactly. So
Not at
we're
all.
Pips now.
That's
All right, I'll take your word for it.
Less love. That's just so because I don't know which crew is going to be with us. So like Rob's not here with us, so we just left it general.
But there's times when you're not going to be here.
Okay, then we're going to have to think about that one. Well, anyways, I hope everyone likes the new intro, and I want to give a shout-out to Tessa Hall. Not only is she a PCA Potomac region member, autocross extraordinaire, but she also owns editmyaudio.com, and she does voiceover work, podcast editing, and she created that for us. And not only did she help us with the intro and the voiceover, but she actually went out to her garage. And do you guys want to guess what soundtrack, what car?
I could guess, but I think I know what
I
it
think
is.
we already know.
You guys already know? Oh, that's because you know her pretty well. So
GT4, right?
GT4,
Yeah.
her GT4. So thank you, Tessa, for that. We really appreciate that. Speaking of appreciation, we also want to thank 6 Porsche Punk and Debin13 for the 5-star reviews that they left us on
Nice.
on
Thank you.
on Apple Podcasts. Thank you. And for those of you that are listening and haven't had an opportunity to leave us a comment or a rating, we really do appreciate it. We read every one of them. What'd you think? Did you read the comments?
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and what I like about it is it's exactly what we're trying to do here. It's just, friends sitting around the table talking about all things Porsche and PCA. So let's see. I'm here with Manny, PCA's technical director, Damon Lowney, PCA's digital media coordinator. And, of course, we mentioned that Rob's not here with us today. We've got a lot to cover. Where do you want to start?
I actually gave you an agenda.
So
Turbo GT, because that's pretty exciting.
What have we done since the last podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, it says it right here. Thanks, Manny. The Cayenne Turbo GT. Shall I start?
Sure, you're doing the
Yeah,
in-depth
I
video,
had
right?
the least amount of driving time in it, so...
Okay,
sure.
so in the past, people have talked about Cayennes, they've talked about Macans as being a 911, but just up higher. And I've kind of quietly chuckled because I've never thought that was the case. Now, certainly they are the sportiest in their segment, but I've never felt like a Cayenne or a Macan was literally a 911 up high. Their driving dynamics, the way you sit in it, it's close. It's super sporty, and for those of you that have Cayennes and Macans, and especially the turbo versions and the GTS versions, I'm not trying to take away how fun they are and how incredibly capable they are, but they were never, to me, like a two-door sports car. Introduce these coupe version SUVs. I think the X5s has them as well.
Remember the Honda Cross Tour way back in 2010?
We won't include, was it the Nissan Murano, where they also did some sort of...
They made a cabriolet out of that
you
thing,
gotta
too.
hand it to Nissan, though. They were ahead of Porsche.
Maybe they were ahead of their time, but I've never understood why you would take something, practical like an SUV and sort of created a sportback version.
Give
of
it less space to store stuff.
Give it less space to store stuff. Okay, so fast forward to last week. Thank you to Porsche Cars North America. We received the Cayenne Turbo GT, which we all know is, the Nürburgring slayer of SUVs. I think 738 at the Nürburgring. And, okay, I approached it with, man, what is this all about? And it's also, a pretty high price tag for an SUV. Now, this is the first time where I sat in the car where it was, the coupe version. And I gotta say, I finally can understand, like, if someone were coming out of that car and said, yeah, this is like a 911 up high. Now I wouldn't say it's 100%, but I would say it's It
has a Porsche feel for sure.
It's 90% because of the rake, and the reason why is I feel like the rake of the windshield and how you look out feels very, sports car like. And then the limited vision that you have in the back, because everything's sort of closed up towards the back and tapered, it does feel much more sports car like. So it gets closer to that statement, very close to that statement. Yeah. And then as far as the overall performance of the thing, 631 horsepower. It's not PDK, but I felt like this transmission shifted just fine. It was plenty fast. Did the was it the launch
performance start for
performance
the
start
Tronic, yeah,
and it's quick and it's got lots of grip. But yeah, I'll let you guys share your impression of it before I tell everything.
It's almost scary. Anything with more than 500 horsepower, you get this feeling when you drive it that I better be careful.
Yeah.
Even over 400, really.
Yeah.
And it's 5,000 pounds, which you can feel. 22-inch wheels, it's a big SUV, but it is so fast, and Porsche, it defies physics in the way it goes around corners.
It boggles the mind. And even with that 5,000 pounds, you tap those brakes, those ceramic brakes, was it 17-inch rotors up front?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
16-inch rotors in the back. It stops on a dime. Yeah. It's very much sports car-like.
Yeah. And there's turbo lag, too. You get on the performance start, and you're on the brake in Sport Plus, you get on the gas, and you kind of can feel it sort of creep and load up a little bit.
Yeah.
Then, when you feel it's right, probably around 3,000 RPM, let go of the brake, and then you don't really shoot forward right away. And I think that's a turbo lag, but then once you crest 3,500 RPM, it just, boom.
And that's what I
crazy.
said. So, I mentioned to people about doing that launch, and I think they marked that launch 0 to 60 like 3.1, right? And we've also done the launch in a Turbo S, which is like 2.7, 2.8. That's a fraction of a second, but the Cayenne kind of masks how fast that launch really is, because I felt like the Turbo S just hit so much harder from like the very get-go. So it doesn't feel
hybrid. It's a hybrid. The Panameras that we've had,
and those
so
two.
Turbo.
So clockwise, it's not much of a difference, but the feel, this thing when you're rolling at 80 miles an hour, it feels like you're doing 45.
It does. Yeah.
What I said in my video is, thank goodness for the heads-up display, because you can easily lose your license.
But it's not I guess people listening, it isn't a day and night difference from previous Cayennes. This is just an evolution. Porsche never does oh my God, this kills every other Cayenne.
Yeah.
It's an evolution. You compare it to the previous year's Turbo. If we would have had that to compare to this, it wouldn't have been such a dramatic impact.
Yeah.
It's because Porsche evolves things. It's not like suddenly they came out with something they just discovered. They've been developing this all along, and not if this is the last hurrah, if you will. They think of internal combustion engines. So
I would love to have driven the GTS Cayenne that we had a little while back next to this, just to see for sure. But those tires and the suspension, it was a lot louder, and you jiggled around a lot more than I remember. But everything else seemed pretty much the same, just more noise, a little bit less comfortable.
Right. It was, to me, more sports car like.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you're looking for that sports car experience in a Cayenne, this version definitely brought that to the table.
If you need 4 doors and you need space, this is the perfect
And you want to spend a lot of money on tires.
If you don't need space and you don't need 4 doors, get a 911.
Yeah,
It's by no means a substitute. It's a great alternative if you need those things. Or if you like to sit high. I don't. I like to sit low.
Yeah.
And so that alone is a killer for me. That's why I like the 911. But if you need those things, there's 4 seats, which it's only 4 seats, or the extra space, then this is a decent ride.
And I was also surprised, as you mentioned earlier, about why would you compromise the utility of it? Okay, yes, you do lose 1 seat in the middle and the back, which if you have a family with 3 kids, then you got to pick a kid to stay home. But as far as trunk space, you didn't lose that. I think they say you lose like 14.
Didn't I fit in the back of that?
Yeah. Manny still fits in the back of it.
Yeah.
We did put Manny in it,
But I
so
mean,
it's still pretty useful.
Yeah, but the original Cayenne, or the regular, the non-coupe Cayenne, I mean, for her to be honest, that had style in mind, the way Porsche designed it. Probably not utility quite as much as, let's say, some non-luxury brands.
Yeah.
So you're not losing a ton.
You're not.
I remember the generation after the E1 had more storage space, I believe. Because when it first came out, we saw it at the New York Auto Show, and I said, "Oh, you guys made it a little smaller." And he said, "Well, it looks that way." He said, "But actually, there's more storage inside." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "The first impact people have is that it's a smaller than the previous generation, but it's actually larger inside."
Yeah, and I can attest to that. Having an E1 myself, the later generations, though, you might think they're more compact, but there's much more room on the inside, and you can move the back seats back and forth to tailor to how much cargo room you needed. But the one thing about this car that I feel bad for future generations if we go completely all electric is that titanium exhaust.
Oh yeah,
on that thing. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I left it in Sport and Sport Plus the whole time because it sounded so good.
It's titanium exhaust. I saw in the press materials that we were sent that it has the center silencer is deleted on that, and I bet that's part of the huge difference in sound, because the GTS sounded great, which sounded better than I think the V8 Panameras I've driven, like the Turbo SE Hybrid, which I thought was kind of quiet and muffled. This gave me the sound that I wanted to hear.
It sounded awesome.
Oh yeah.
So we'll have a 1 mile review.
Yep.
Right?
How are we going to differentiate your 1 mile review and my full review?
Mine's probably way shorter, right?
Well, obviously, but are you going to say, are you going to put yours out there first and then say everything I'm about to say, that I'm just more long-winded?
Yeah, something like that. No, I'm actually not sure at this
1
point.
mile review, we had the long-winded review.
I was thinking about that. Should we have the 1 mile review and point to and then do the in-depth and then point to the 1 mile review, or vice versa?
We're going to have to think about that one. I was thinking about that when you were driving. I'm like, well, what if he says everything that I said?
Yeah, and the press cars we get, we'll try to do, several pieces of content, so it's not a once and done sort of thing.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out how the best way to roll that out is, I guess, the challenge at this point.
Yeah. I will, and this, I don't know if this is a negative or a ding, but I was surprised at the value that car represents, that some of the plastics that were exposed on the door sills and the seat backs, usually, at least in previous generation Cayennes that I drove, those were all either leather or it was like a very high quality plastic, and I felt this time it wasn't up to par. I don't know if you guys kind of looked at that. I
didn't delve that deeply.
I was looking for
it.
I mean, when they give us a press car, like, you want to be like, you don't want to just be a fanboy and just love everything. Like, you try to find some things about it. And I had to look hard. Trust me, I had to look hard. And then that was, if I were gonna, ding it, that's kind of the only thing.
And there's not a knock. I think Manny, didn't we see a VW part like under the hatch somewhere?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure. Actually, that might have been my girlfriend pointed that out when we were taking photos. She looked up when the hatch was open. I was going through camera stuff.
It's all in the family.
So
it's all in the family. But otherwise, it was an amazing vehicle. One more thing that I loved about it is the first time you guys did a sharp turn, did you immediately feel how awesome the rear wheel steering is?
Yes, and you can, in some of the GoPro footage I captured, I had one pointed at the rear wheels doing a U-turn.
Okay.
The rear wheels turn a lot.
It's significant. Actually. It whips the car around. Yeah. The car stays flat, but you're turning at a pretty good rate. So.
But to anyone who's thinking about getting the car, you don't really feel it.
Yeah.
In the sense that, what in the world's going on in the rear?
No.
It's just that it.
You can take a U-turn better, or
you would feel it better if you could drive a Cayenne without rear wheel steering back to back, and then you would really see the difference, because it's very subtle. They don't want to scare you when the rear wheels are turning, but it's if you could compare it to the non-one, you'd see the big difference.
Yeah, and the color combination that we got, the Arctic gray with the neodyne wheels.
Yep.
Everybody that saw that car was just like, man, that is a beautiful ride. Yeah. And it is.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about, I've been in the air and on the road quite a bit. 2 stops since our last our last podcast, headed out to Monterey and the Monterey Pines golf course to do sort of the finishing touches for Works Reunion. When is it? August 19th? August 19th is Works Reunion. Come out. Judge cars are sold out. The Corral, Porsche Corral is sold out, but you can come as a spectator, $40 to park your car, and it's going to be spectacular. Some of the highlights are we are going to have 20 some of the Porsche Classic contest cars that are coming. We're going to have, obviously, Michelin's going to bring some
What's the Porsche Classic contest?
So the Porsche Classic contest is all the dealers in the
the
United
restoration.
The restoration,
Okay.
yeah. So all the dealers that are participating in that, well, 22 of them that are participating in that challenge, they're going to be bringing their cars, and we get to see
nice.
all
Did
the
you
cars.
tell them we want to do 1 mile reviews on all of them?
That'll be quite busy.
That'd be pretty awesome.
That would be awesome. And youth judging, by the way, is open. So just, the corral spots are closed, judge field is closed, but youth judging is still open. So if you're bringing a kid to Works Reunion, be sure to register them if you want them to take part in the event. Head to worksreunion.com and click on Monterey.
Most prestigious award
Yeah.
in PCA is the
Yes.
Yeah.
one that the kids pick.
Yeah, and it's a
Yep.
good-looking trophy, too. Speaking of 1 mile review, while we were doing the site visit, I did garner one for you, and that's to do a 1 mile review in Kermit. John D'Angelo's
nice.
993 Cabriolet that you saw at Porsche Parade. So it will be
Do
there.
we have to wear hazmat suits so no dust gets in the car?
You guys have to deal with him and figure out what the parameters are, but that'd be a cool car.
Yeah.
And the roads that you guys will have the opportunity to drive it. And even though it's 1 mile, it should be a spectacular 1 mile drive.
Oh, yeah.
From there, came back and ended up in. I have to be careful because we haven't disclosed the exact location of unStock, but it will be in Burbank, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be. We've got some teaser photos on YouTube if you want to guess where it is. But we're gonna.
Is that the teaser photo?
That's one of them.
You're going to guess where it's at by that.
It's obvious to some people.
It's a photo, for the listeners, it's a photo of a white fender of a 911 in a garage floor.
Yeah. But those that know that car, those that know that floor, I think there was another picture too, Robert. That's a little bit even more of a.
The ceiling of the garage.
So we're going to have about 125 modified Porsches on display. We're going to have a road shutdown. We're going to have Dane's Barbecue, In-N-Outs around the corner. We're going to have a DJ. We have an area that I think we're going to. I've asked Melanie to sort of have like a beach theme with beach balls, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And then the tour of this facility, the facility that we're going to be at, they have at any given time at least a dozen builds, crazy builds, and everyone will get to walk through. There's the other teaser photo for you.
Beautiful. So when you say beach balls, are we like going to be keeping them in the air over the show?
So there you'll. I mean, it'll be fun. All I can say is, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. And for those of you, keep a lookout on eBrake News. We'll announce when the registration opens, and if you want to be on display, you have to actually register your car and let us know what 3 modifications, significant modifications you have to be eligible to be displayed. And people are going to bring their A game this year, because I think last year when we did it, people weren't exactly sure. And as I was there for the site visit and visiting with other groups, people are like, oh, we're definitely going this year, and I know what it's all about, and here's the type of car I'm going to bring.
So add a picture when you register.
Add
a picture, and if you really want to get into the show, because unlike Works, where it's first come, first serve, this we are actually going to have to select the cars, because it's truly a modified car show.
Yeah.
So while a GT2 RS is an awesome vehicle, a stock GT2 RS will not get in the show.
It won't.
It has to be a modified GT2 RS.
Yep.
And that can be wheels, aero,
color.
Obviously a wrap or something that you change to personalize the car. And that's what we're looking for is things that people change. And Porsche actually loves that. We learned that from walking around with Boris from Exclusive, that they take pictures of all the modified cars because they get ideas themselves of what people like to see on their cars. So just write down as much as you can about your car and what modifications you've done, and include pictures, and you'll stand a good chance of getting in.
And for those of you that have stock vehicles or don't feel like you want to put your car on display, there's going to be plenty of parking. It's in an industrial area where you can park along the side on the street, but then there's also parking lots not too far. For those that are just coming to spectate, there is no cost to spectate. I have a feeling when you find out where we're going to be hosting this, your family and friends will probably know about this property or venue, and they'll want to come along, and it'll be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for more. All right, let's go into recent. We've dropped a lot of videos. Let's talk about what's the most recent one? We dropped the Raffle video.
Yeah,
recently?
Raffle video. We have a 1 mile review on a 992 GT3 by Robin Warner, which,
okay,
man, I learned a lot about that car on that video.
And who's Robin? Is he a contributor to Panorama, or?
I believe he came from Auto Week, I believe. He's now a freelancer, so struck out on his own. So he has a YouTube channel, and he writes for us occasionally. Overall, good dude.
Yeah,
really enjoyed it.
I thought was funny was our members, have quite the sense of humor, and I think in his video he mentioned 2022 Porsche GT3 a number of times.
Drinking game.
Someone was like, take a shot every time he says it.
The first thing I thought was, how many times do I repeat the same thing?
I know, exactly. I thought the same thing. I was like, make sure I don't say it too many times. They're going to make a drinking game out of me.
Yeah,
but
very that's
thorough.
more engagement, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we should.
Yeah, and we certainly appreciate those of you that are watching us on YouTube when you comment. Even if it's a short comment, the comments help our algorithms on where the video is presented to people. So please comment. Small comment, verbose comment. We'll take it. Of course, always be sure to hit like on the video and also subscribe. We're trying to get you to help us get to 100,000 subscribers, and we're moving along. And
was that a PCNA press car?
Yes,
it was. Yep, over in Michigan is where he's based.
Yeah, so that's the thing is we've PCNA has really been good to us in getting press cars for us, but press cars can't always come to Maryland. Mm-hmm. They might be in Michigan, they might be in California. So if it's available, regardless of where it is location, Damon and Rob are trying to get people. If it's not us, someone else that can
We will be more than happy to take the Motor Week leftovers.
Yes.
So the Motor Week's only about 30 minutes from here.
Yes. And we've actually mentioned that to them, and so I think they will be extending whatever time if they send a car over there. So yeah. All right, what else did we do video wise?
So the raffle
actually,
video, the raffle video is interesting because we hear the same thing. The person isn't excited when they find out that they won a car.
Yeah,
and it's because they're shocked.
They are. So in this case, Jim here, who owns the Cayenne, he and his wife, actually they have 2 Cayennes, and when so the ruse was, did I talk about this last time?
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay, so anyways, the ruse was that we sent in my cousin saying that she hit his car. He comes out, he's very polite, super nice, but of course his attention is on whether or not the car is scratched. But when I pop out there with the sign, he is just completely,
You could have told him the soup of the day is crab soup.
He literally just read. So my sign says winner. He literally just read winner, but it didn't connect. It didn't connect with him that he was the winner. And so finally, when we all start congratulating him, he's still like that whole time. You can't tell. He's still looking at the bumper. He's like,
he knows Denise Jordan or.
So he knows Denise Jordan. That's why we didn't send Denise in. He knows the salesperson.
I didn't know if he was just hugging anyone who was up for a hug.
So you could tell, like, I already said congratulations, but he was still looking at his bumper. Like, this is so much sensory overload that it doesn't sink in. Maybe by now, if you're watching us on YouTube where he's looking at the car, now it's starting to sink in, and his wife started to, share a little bit of information. But yeah, people are just so shocked.
Probably why the Price is Right picks out people in line that are like very outgoing
absolutely.
and bubbly because they know
Yeah.
that they're going to be excited when they get on stage versus shocked.
Exactly, for sure. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever you want to say, but we don't pick our winners based on how they're going to react. But overall, he's a super nice guy, and we surprised the 5 other winners, and we are today letting PCNA all of the winners' decisions, and they will get to go to their dealership in about 2 weeks and spec their cars out. Yeah, so pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
I got slammed for showing the picture of the program, which has the GT4 RS.
Yeah.
So Jim actually won the Cayman S plus 25 grand,
Yep.
but I didn't switch out the image. But hey,
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
he was still very happy.
We don't know what the next Raffle car is going to be yet.
You know what? Can I tell you? Maybe I'll just tell you guys now. This is part of PCA Insider. I'm not gonna tell anyone else. I'm gonna see how this spreads because I'm only gonna announce it here on PCA Insider. So we have reserved for the grand prize for the fall raffle the GTS America.
Ooh.
How many of them? Just one?
Just one. Just one.
What's second prize?
Second prize will probably be 911 cabs.
Okay.
But that's not confirmed yet. But I did confirm the number 1 car.
Yeah, one GTS America.
Yeah.
Wow.
Super
Wow.
rare.
Oh yeah.
That's funny because when we announced that parade, everyone was grumbling.
I don't have
Good luck in getting allocation for that car.
Yep. And
Here's your allocation.
So when they came to us, I said, yes, we would love to have that allocation. It's going to have to change up the numbers a little bit, obviously, because the value of that car is so high. But how cool is that? We know that at least one PCA member will go home with it.
Wonder if they have
yeah.
wheel insurance that you could buy.
They do. They do.
You know how expensive that wheel is going to be.
You know who has Gregory Brown and his Cayenne? He bought wheel insurance, and I didn't tell him not to get it. I just didn't think much about the wheel insurance when he got the car. I think he drove for like 2 years before he actually had to get 2 or 3 years before he had to get like a set of tires because he kept on getting flats or whatever, and he would just roll in and they would give him a new tire.
I'm not talking about tire insurance, wheel insurance.
Well, same thing with the wheels. Like if you ding up your wheel, they would just either fix it.
This wheel is 3 different finishes on it.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
GTS America. It's a spectacular wheel.
It's white, it's machined, and
It's not machined. It's painted silver. It looks machined,
Oh,
but I've
really?
confirmed it. The face of the wheel is.
it's not machined?
It's not machined.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, Michael Tam
Okay.
told me it's
Okay.
painted silver, looks machined, and then white and blue, I think. I have to look at a picture. Red, white, and blue, right? So
Yeah.
and silver.
So we also dropped the water-cooled exhaust. And
28 of them. That was a lot of exhausts.
Yeah, man.
Took a
See,
while
I
to
worked
get
hard.
through.
I worked hard for you. So that was all. That was all at the departure area at Treffen a few months ago, and
So if you're wondering why there were no 928s and 944s, there were not any.
yeah, I mean,
at this
the
recording
day
session.
that I was doing these recordings, like I looked around and tried to get every possible car that was there, and I may have missed it, but I don't think so. I'm sure if I had seen a 928 or 924 or something, I
We'll
would've
get there
recorded
for
it.
those who've asked in our comments.
Yeah, so that's another video. We'll do some
Yep.
transaxles or something. Yeah, but cool, huh?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm glad some people caught my joke. The last one, the last car was the Taycan. Technically, it is water
Yeah,
cooled.
it's got a radiator.
It's got
coolant.
radiator and coolant running through the batteries.
Yep.
But you just heard crickets chirp at the end.
So at Works Reunion Monterey, I would love to do the similar video. What Rob Sass talked about, and I thought was a good idea, was the air-cooled 911's door shutting.
Oh, okay.
Because they have such a unique sound.
Mm.
And I think he said, who told him that it was a C minor or something like that?
Donald
Osborne. That's right.
Osborne,
That's
yeah.
right. I don't know if it's a correct note, but anyways, it's a very iconic sound that is almost exclusive to the air-cooled 911. So that would be a pretty cool video also just to...
Yeah.
Actually, if all the doors shutting, it'd be interesting to hear what different sounds.
To prove that we listen and read the comments, one person had mentioned on the water-cooled exhaust videos is how come or maybe you should do like a dB meter and record it. So, you know what's on my desk?
I think I remember a dB meter coming in.
A dB meter's on my desk, so we will do that, and we'll measure the distance from the exhaust and have another point of reference for you. All right. And then what else did we do? Transporting. Oh, Tech Tactics Live, transporting your Porsche. That was a very interesting session with Nathan. I learned a lot. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I don't see myself transporting a Porsche in like a reliable rig anytime soon, but who knows? Maybe at some point I'll have a car where I could tow it with the U-Haul trailer. I'd probably try U-Haul first.
Yeah. So for those of you who are listening that work for Reliable, it's not that he doesn't like Reliable.
I was going to say.
He's just worried about the price point.
Well, the price point of Reliable transporting, but also are my cars actually worth transporting on Reliable?
Yes.
I
probably
thought,
not.
I got out of it.
It's not you, it's him.
I got out of it. I only want to transport it by Reliable.
Exactly.
Hollister,
I was about to say.
Or Intercity. The brokers' stories scared the heck out of me to save a little bit. It seems like a lot of a headache.
Yeah.
I like to go to at Amelia Island. We do this a lot because we know the person who oversees it, Rusty. We go to the tractor trailers park for Amelia Island, and it's always interesting to see the brands of the carriers that they're bringing these very expensive cars, and that really can open your eyes. Or even you go to the racetrack, you can see a lot of times, or Works Reunion, what kind of carriers are bringing cars in, and most of them are, if not all, are these name brands we just announced or mentioned because it's peace of mind. People don't want a headache of chasing their cars around the country.
There's an X amount of cost that to go say with Reliable and have that white glove service and what we learned in the video was, or in the interview session with Nathan, was that just enclosed does not necessarily mean the same thing based on the carriers. I mean, when you go with someone like Reliable or Intercity, that that's sort of the white glove service. And yes, it's more expensive, but should something happen to your car during transport, I can guarantee you that is going to be more expensive than the cost of transporting it the right way. Here, I have a crazy idea, and I think maybe Manny, you put this in my head at some point for another year, but I'm thinking of transporting my G-Body car to California between now and maybe the end of the year or first quarter of next year, and just do, as I'm doing events in the West Coast, is have my car in California. Hopefully I can keep it at my mom's house or my uncle's house or somebody, because you just think you got Rensport Reunion, you've got Parade, you've got Works Reunion, you've got unStock. Like right there is 4 events. Man, that'd be awesome if I could do it in my own car.
Yeah.
And there's probably some other events that I'm forgetting.
Yeah. Great roads out there. Too.
Great roads, and it would be kind of a bucket list thing. Imagine driving Angeles Crest in my own car. That would be cool.
Yep.
Driving up PCH in my own car.
Well, honestly, all the roads outside of Palm Springs, that's what I bet you're going to enjoy the most.
Yeah,
so
right.
During parade, after or before.
Yeah,
really
or I
worth
could ship
driving
it to Vegas. My dad's out there, and my uncle and aunts are out there. Maybe they can keep it there. And one thing I will probably have to get fixed is the air conditioning. My car has never had air conditioning.
I was thinking the top.
I mean, yeah.
Or at least the back window.
Yeah. I mean, the top is original and pretty nasty, but I always have it down when I'm driving here. But I think maybe I get it fixed while it's over there. So, anyways, Manny had mentioned that years ago to do something like that for.
I'm telling my friends, I'm like, if you're ever thought about doing a bucket list trip, 2023 is the year, because you can do so much in California. If you find a place to store your car, you can make multiple trips and hit up a lot of events in one year, and make it worthwhile.
What's this Porsche Sport new video? What's that one?
Did you guys see this? It was really well done by Porsche. I think Rob was showing it. And of course, with the audio, it sounds really good. But it talks about their involvement with motorsport. And I love the pictures they choose. If you look closely, you see a lot of Oliver Bloom, which we'll be talking about, Wolfgang Porsche. They even had a picture of Luis right there. I think that's very Porsche's wife.
Yes, yeah.
It was
nice.
very well done video using different photos internally.
Oh, nice. Look at that.
It's like, once again, Oliver Bloom, another one. It's
All right, so those that are not watching us on YouTube, they're just sitting there and wondering what we're looking
look
at.
up sport, or go to YouTube and hit the Porsche sport video. It's a very well done video. I don't think they were promoting anything other than just their involvement with motorsport, but no car in particular or event in particular.
Well, you kind of hinted to some news, so let's go right into that.
Yeah, we were.
Man, we've got lots of news.
We came in Monday and we were like, wow. So I'm sure you followed any kind of automotive news. You know that Herbert Diess was removed as the CEO of Volkswagen,
Mm-hmm.
and Oliver Bloom, who's the CEO of Porsche, was brought in as his replacement, while also being told he's also going to run Porsche.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a I don't know if it's correct to say, but let's call it a hostile replacement. Diess was it was his article Robert's showing. Terrible picture because it looks like he's about to pick his nose.
Well, not only that, some of the articles I read, they actually mistakenly put the wrong photo.
Yeah.
Bloom.
They put Bloom when they were talking about Diess and vice versa.
But yeah, they had planned this. It happened very quickly, like almost in a week, while he was in the United States, in Tallahassee, I think, during a tour of the SUV plant. And basically, he came back and they had voted and told him.
But wasn't Diess brought on during to get VW through Dieselgate? Like,
yeah, so
the
originally Matthias Müller was brought in.
Who was also Porsche's president and CEO
Right.
at the
Yes,
time.
exactly. And I remember somebody high-ranking at Porsche. We had asked what he thought about the move, and he said, Matthias is a very capable, very good person, but he will be gone within 2 years.
Mm.
Yeah.
And he nailed it right. He
Yeah.
was gone in 2 years, and so yeah, Herbert Diess came in, and for a while he was the darling of the Porsche and Piech families, but as of recently, with the supply chain issue and the
rollout of their electric program is not going as well.
Yeah.
Software glitches and problems.
so he was.
Man, that's
Yeah.
What's interesting is now, of course, last week we talked about, Jim came in and told us about the IPO. So you would think you would have wanted stability would be the key here in an upcoming IPO, especially at the top of the helm, the CEO. So now you have a CEO who's entrusted with Volkswagen and all of its companies, all at the same time saying, "Oh, by the way, you're also managing Porsche."
Yeah.
That's as an investor, I would be a little bit. The
Yeah.
captain of the ship suddenly is the captain of an armada, not just
right.
the ship. So it's
So Jim's not here today. Otherwise, we'd probably pull him in here to get his thoughts on it. But yeah, like you said, someone, Oliver's, Mr. Bloom's doing an amazing job with Porsche. Now he's going to have a larger role. Who's going to take the helm at Porsche? Again, change might not necessarily be bad, but it's still change. And what does that mean to people that are, looking at the IPO? Like, that's pretty interesting.
yeah, it's interesting. In the article, the first line is Volkswagen AG's dramatic move to oust its combative chief executive officer was set in motion a week ago when his backing from the billionaire Porsche and Piech family began to crumble.
Oh,
That alone shows you what we know,
Yeah.
that the amount of influence these two families have
yeah.
in
they-
Volkswagen and Porsche.
They own Porsche SE, which owns majority of
The holding
Volkswagen,
company.
which owns Porsche.
Yeah.
So,
AG.
so all these announcements that I've been reading, and my eyes, it's almost like I'm in grade school again. Like, my eyes start to glaze over when they go into all the IPO stuff. But I did catch one sentence in one of the releases talking about a SUV that is larger
Yep.
than the Cayenne.
Yep, they've confirmed
What?
it.
Are they making like a Suburban or something, or
Who knows? Bigger than the Cayenne and electric. So
and electric?
I think that's the word. Yeah.
Electric only.
Oh,
I mean,
Yeah,
it's all
luxury.
rumor, sort of at this point, exactly what it'll be. But Bluma came out and said that they're doing it. So
I mean, if they're targeting that vehicle at the U.S. market, I think that's very smart, because as much as we love the current platforms are Cayennes, but U.S. loves third row seating.
So what do we think here? Are we going to get in a Jeep Grand Wagoneer and pit it up against a bigger than Cayenne Porsche
So
SUV?
you know the recipe. It's going to be the sportiest of that segment. It's going to run circles around a Tahoe or whatever its competitor is going to be.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to, would you have ever thought Porsche was going to make such a large vehicle?
Yeah.
I remember when the Cayenne came out, and was it Detlef, I think, who was the CEO? And he asked me, he said, what do you think? And I said, well, I could never buy it because I have 3 kids. And anyone who has 3 kids know you don't stick them in one row. Otherwise, you'll have a world war every time you go somewhere. You need a third row of seats. And he was like, oh, no, you can't put a third row of seats. So I think it's going to be, I think we talked about this. It's going to be like a Tahoe, meaning you'll have the third row of seats, but you're not going to have a lot of storage space behind that third row of seats. Otherwise, you do have a Suburban. And what'll be interesting, because Porsche never does things, chintzy, is I would love to see how that third row of seats is going to be, because it's going to be luxurious and functional and supportive and whatnot. It'll be interesting to see their take on
So if it's going to be electric, then it's probably going to be on some sort of skateboard platform, you would think.
Yeah,
That's shared with VW. And we all know with sort of a skateboard platform, the floor is pretty low and you can do a lot in getting. One of the things I don't like about, I grew up in a suburban, getting into that third row, it was like, that's where you sent the kids, the little ones, the ones that could climb over stuff. But on a skateboard platform, if you can make egress a little bit easier and a little bit more leg room, it might work. Yeah, that's a whole.
There's no torque tube anymore.
No torque tubes. Yeah, suspensions can go to the far sides of the car and actually make it This is getting very close to my minivan.
I'm sure that's exactly what they're going to call it.
We won't go into that minivan discussion because that'll take another hour.
Yeah, but it's if you get a chance or Google how the takeover happened. It was very interesting how
something
how
that kind of relates to that, or is with the takeover, it'll probably affect somehow the IPO. But what about Formula One? Which goes into
great
another
segue. Great segue.
So they're just talking about this morning. There's not a whole lot of it. Well, Porsche didn't release anything.
Yeah.
It was Morocco, evidently, because they're part of the European Union. They require any kind of notification. And I think it's meant so nothing fishy is going on. Any kind of notification when this is going to happen. So they had filed it, was it July 9th, I think I read?
Something like that,
so someone just had discovered it.
Yeah. It's like a patent application, right? It's all out
in the
there.
paperwork that they were going to purchase 50%.
The only thing I can think about how this is probably killing Jim, that he's not at the table talking about this right now.
Yes,
he won a bet, apparently.
We'll have to tell him when we see him at the training video later today that he missed the opportunity to come back on. But he was thrilled because he loves Red Bull.
Yes.
It's no secret that the Germans want a German driver.
Yep.
And Mick Schumacher, has been in the conversations on the forums, not with Porsche or anything yet that we know of, but the forums are ablaze with the fact that by then, hopefully, he's a top-tier driver, nearing a top-tier driver, and I'm sure the Germans would love to have a Schumacher name driving a Red Bull Porsche.
Yeah. And just Red Bull in general, the marketing machine there and aligning with that crowd and the social media strength of Red Bull.
But a lot can happen in a year.
Oh yeah.
Look at Mercedes.
Yeah.
From the top to being happy that they finished third.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be hopefully Red Bull still has their dominance when this all happens in 26, is it?
2026, I believe, is when the new regulations come in. Yeah.
So the other part of talking about IPOs and people moving around, the profitability of electric vehicles. What did we learn there?
Porsche saying it's going to become the most profitable segment over their ICE engines.
Yeah,
which it isn't too surprising either because there's a lot less moving parts.
Yeah,
and I think once this supply chain hopefully settles down, we go back somewhat normal. I think I can easily see, because it's not like Porsche's going to say, "Hey, these are cheaper to make, so we're going to lower the price."
Yeah.
No.
They've been. If they still aren't, I'd be surprised. But they were for the longest time the most profitable car company in the world.
Yeah. They're up there or they are.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know why I hear that. I think I should be excited about it, but I'm a little sad because I think one is after getting out of that Turbo GT and knowing that that's probably like one of the last like amazing sounding cars as we go electric. And trust me, I know the performance that EV offers, and it is amazing. I know probably from the reliability standpoint, less moving parts, not having to change the oil. It's like your power plant is just that much more efficient. I get all that, but it's going to change sort of the car industry as we know it. Just think of, independents, independent shops, think of dealers. Like, you don't need to go in for an oil change anymore. Things are done over the air for software updates. I guess what do? You still do brakes. You still do tires.
Body shops will still be the same.
Body shops.
I think
okay.
most of the shops will probably be happy not having to deal with oil.
Yeah.
And getting rid of oil.
But cars won't be coming in as often, right? So they've got to change their business model.
They need to train their people.
So gas cars aren't disappearing overnight.
Right.
No, of course not.
They're going to be around as long as we're alive.
Yeah.
And I always say, we see Model Ts at Cars and Coffee.
Yeah.
So they're over 100 years old. So, and I think if anything, gas cars would be probably even more celebrated, because when people see one at a car show, they're going to hear it.
Yeah.
They're going to say, "Turn it on," and they'll be just amazed, especially the older cars that you can see the belts turning and you can see the crank moving and whatnot. They're just going to look in awe that this is happening, all precisely timed.
I hope so. I know, like, when we go to Cars and Coffee now and someone rolls up like in a 60s or 70s hot rod, and regardless of how fast it is, but the smells and, like you said, seeing the belts and the chrome, like, that's so cool.
So on the flip side, maybe 2050 rolls around and everybody's used to mostly electric cars. Then a GT3 RS 4.0 with some muffler delete exhaust comes up, and it's to us sounds great,
but to them
smells great. To them, maybe, man, this is so noisy. Like, how could people put up with a car like that?
I don't know.
I hope that's not the case.
I think that's in DNA.
Yeah,
especially car people, that when you hear the sound of I'm not a big American muscle fan.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that beats an American V8.
Oh yeah.
I mean, especially with the hopped up cam and the
boom,
boom, boom, boom.
But is that an acquired taste since we've literally been around them our whole lives? Or is that something that
I don't think so. I don't know if there's a scientific DNA.
How do I say this politically correct? Like, I think some parents are raising their kids to be a little like shy and they don't like extreme noises. They don't like extreme smells. And will they grow up and be that shy, and will they go, ooh, that car is like dirty to them, and they won't appreciate it? Like, for us, we somebody starts it up, we get closer, we want to smell like the exhaust fumes. But this next generation, I hope they still appreciate it.
I still think there's something that we've talked about what got us involved with cars. My father was never really a car person.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have like you growing up. Your parents were you had family that were car people, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't have that.
Yeah.
And but I just naturally loved cars, and I loved the sound, and like you said, the smell. And my kids don't seem to be car people.
Yeah.
Even though their whole lives they were surrounded by Porsche.
Right.
They're just not car people, and that's fine. That's not something I can force them. And you're gonna be a car person. My oldest son liked autocrossing and everything, but they don't have that. When I was his age, I was going to do anything to get that Porsche. That was my focus, was to buy a Porsche. And but they have their own passions and interests, and but I see other young people that, like I said, the new member that I met last week, who said he's been a car person all his life, and he knew about PCA and wanted a Porsche.
And that's what I wanted to ask you all, and I actually wanted to ask those that are listening, is at what point in your life turned you on to Porsche? So comment below. Let us know what was the first thing you saw, or what was the experience that said, one day I will have a Porsche. Manny, you start. Where did the Porsche love come from?
Two things I remember. We went to a family trip to Knoxville for the World's Fair, which was early 80s, I think. And I remember sitting in the back seat of, we might have had a Buick or something, and we were driving out of Tennessee, and I saw a 911 SC go by us, coupe. That shape that you never get tired of, And it was like 2 hours later, it passed us again, and we hadn't stopped. And I thought, holy cow, that means this guy stopped, got back on the road again, and
caught up to
passed
you.
us again. And that always stuck in my head. And then when I was in high school, Porsche had all these ads. You might remember seeing them because they had a number on them, and some were like side shot, 2-page ads. And I used to go in the school library and steal these ads out of magazines. I would cut them out and put them in my bedroom wall, and that's when I knew that I wanted something to do with Porsche. I wanted a Porsche, really. And so when I was 18, I got my 924.
That's amazing that you got it at 18.
I was driven. Every penny I earned, I was going to buy a Porsche, and the 924 was in my price point for something that I could drive every day, because I needed a car I was going to drive every day, not a project car.
How about you, Damon? I know you. I know the story a little bit.
Yeah. No, my adjust my headphones real quick. Get a little itch there. So my uncle and aunt, some of you may know them actually. So Keith Verlack in San Diego region, and Martha McGowan, also San Diego region. I grew up, lived across the street from them, and my uncle, he had I want to say it was a red. I don't think it was Guards red. It was a darker red, 84 Carrera or something. Back until I was 11 or 12, and I liked the car. And I had RC cars that I asked for Christmas every year. I love cars, but I wasn't really necessarily a all-out Porsche person. And then my uncle bought his RS America, which not too long after he gave me a ride in it. And it always sticks out near where I grew up, our condo complex, and my uncle lived in the same complex, my uncle and aunt, so I could literally walk over there. He took me out in the RS America, and there's this really long, straight, for the most part, straight road, not a lot of pull-offs or anything. This particular area going from San Diego into Santee, for those who know that area, on Mission Gorge Road. I remember him going 140 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh!
In his RS America on Mission Gorge Road. Sorry, Keith, but it's statute of limitations. 140 miles an hour, which was amazing and slightly scary. But then he hit the brakes, and my thoughts of what performance was, it totally changed, and I'd probably say that's kind of the starting point for me. And of course, I'll have to get my aunt and her old 944 S2 in there, but her 944 S2 was the first Porsche I ever drove. Yeah. So, yeah, that's where it started.
Yeah. So for me, my parents, came to the United States in the early 70s, and for a while there was driving, very mundane vehicles, a Datsun B210, a Chevrolet Monte Carlo. But finally, when my mom and dad were comfortable, they wanted to sort of splurge on a car, and it was a European car. So they bought a 83 320i, and that's a big deal for us. But near where that car was bought was also a Porsche dealership. So I remember kind of being able to see over the parking lot. My dad's like, yeah, those are really, someday son we'll have one of those, but today we're gonna get this one. And I'm like, okay, cool. So it's it was almost like a life goal for my dad. And then I grew up in the 80s, watching movies when Porsches were in movies, Risky Business, and what was it, Pretty in Pink, and all that kind of stuff. These cars, these cool people were driving these cars. And then sort of what cemented it all was we were living in Bel Air, Maryland, and my aunt came to town, and her boyfriend, who was like a young professor, pulled up in a white 911 SC Cabriolet with red interior. And I was like, oh my gosh, Dad, look at that car. And it's just from that point on, it's I will have one. We will have one. Dad, even if it's you that's not going to buy it, it's going to be our car. And I remember the day that I brought home my 87 Turbo Le Cab. He was probably just as much, if not more, proud that we had this car. And my uncles came over and they remembered how, like, when they went to the dealership and the salesman didn't give them the time of day, and honestly they didn't have the money to buy it, but it was like one for the team, right? So that's how it all started. And being part of the Porsche world has, I think, changed the lives for all of us here at the table. Here we are doing what we love with the brand that we love. We'd love to hear your story. Just comment below and how you got started with Porsches. I'll pick out a few and share with them, share with everyone the next time we're together. So what else?
We had an email, I believe it was from Alan, asking, saying he loves the podcast, but wanted to know if we could schedule more guests.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to have more guests
for sure.
We'd love to have them here in the studio, obviously, because that's the best sound. Not everyone has the equipment at home, and that's the most complaints we get is about sound. Yeah. When we have guests on, so we'll be getting more guests now that we're going weekly, and hopefully we'll have the VP of Pirelli coming on, and next week. He's coming next week, right? Yeah. Hopefully he makes it in time, so he's going to do Tech Tactics Live with us in this, and he liked the idea about the podcast as well, so that'll be great to talk with him. I also wanted to give a shout out, and I think Robert, I asked Robert to have the camera. There he is.
Hey, Robert.
That's Robert Forsyth. He's the one who does all the editing live as it's happening. And, when we first came up with the idea of the podcast, everyone's time was pretty much to the limit. And to squeeze in a podcast was asking a lot. So that's why we went to the studio at first, because they delivered us a file without us having to do anything else. And then when we decided to bring it in-house, when I met with Robert and Damon, I said I really want to minimize the amount of labor because I know we're all maxed out on our other duties. This is really like a labor of love for us. This isn't really any of our job descriptions that we have to do. So Robert helps out by doing this as we're recording live. He's inserting all the photos, and by the comments we've gotten on the YouTube, people really seem to like it. Really up the game, if you will, for the video version of the podcast. So I wanted to give a shout out to Robert so people could see what he looked like, and that he's
and he's so cool. He's got that camera angle. He's such a nerd. We love him. So when we were at the podcast studio before, as Manny mentioned, they gave us a file of the recording, but it still meant
I still had to do some editing.
Damon had to do quite a bit of editing, and we had to put photos in, and Robert's doing all this now on the fly. So not only is the studio in-house, we're able to do it weekly, but it's more efficient. We're getting better and better each time, and I think someone mentioned that in a comment, and thank you for that. But we will continue to strive to make things more seamless, better lighting, better audio. None of us are experts in this. None of us. We're just doing it as a labor of love, as Manny said, and we appreciate you coming along with us as we get better.
Yeah, it'll be we'll have some decent guests on, and you'll see continued evolution, as you say, of the podcast.
Yep. So we talked about Works Reunion. We talked about unStock. I do want to talk about SportsCar Together Day at Indy. If you
Fest.
SportsCar
3 days, right?
It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. Correct. SportsCar Together Fest, and if you haven't registered for corral parking, we still have slots open. The DE, the GT themed high performance drivers education event, that I would think we only have maybe a handful of slots left. That's gonna be amazing. If you've got a GT car and you are signed off to drive solo, Porsche has an amazing plan for you event.
It is a smoking deal.
It's a smoking deal.
I wish I had a GT car, because what is it, $650 for 3 days?
$650 for 3 days.
An hour and a half, I think, of track time a day.
You get 2 40-minute sessions a day.
So
you will probably get garage space. You get to be in the GT photo shoot. You get access to the driver's lounge, which has all the amazing food and coffee.
We can't go to the driver's lounge.
We can't go, but you'll get to do that. I think they also give access if you take a significant other to the track that day, they can get to the driver's lounge. They just have to buy their general admission ticket. So it is a smoking deal, which doesn't surprise me why we're almost sold out with that. But hop on it. If you're thinking about it, hop on it now, because it's not much is going to be left over.
You get to drive the road course, which is very similar to the I think there's one turn maybe different than what the Formula One group race with, but yeah, it's a thrill to be able to drive at Indianapolis.
Yeah. So for those of you that can't do the DE part of it, we do have parade laps all 3 days, and you can sign up for that as well.
Yeah.
All right, folks.
The parade laps are only $25.
Yeah.
But the amount of laps you get, the cost per lap is much cheaper than what it's going to cost the driver's aid guys. When you factor in cost of the tires and brakes and gas.
But it's a completely different. It's still cool, but the DE folks are going to have an amazing event. And shout out to Mia Walsh, who's managing that for PCA. It's going to be awesome. So, folks, I think we're going to sign off. Thanks for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, grab that VIN, go to PCA.org and join. It's $46 for a year. If you don't own a Porsche, we also have a test drive program where you'll get to meet Jim and he'll help you find your car, have access to some of our resources here. Be sure to visit the podcast Instagram, check out the photos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. If you want to email us, have any suggestions, podcast@pca.org. Again, please comment if you can. Please subscribe. Much appreciate your support. Until next time, stay safe and we'll catch you down the road.